Hello guys, this is Simracing Corner and this is the Thrustmaster T248. So, a really early first impression video. I've only had this for a couple of days, so do understand this is not a review. This is just really some thoughts of what it's been like to use as a new user to this wheelbase. Okay, so do understand the context of this video. Also, I do want to tell you, I'm not using the pedal set that comes with the T248 yet. But I will in the review when I get, when we really deep dive into this wheelbase. I will also use the pedal set. So this is just about the wheelbase at the moment, guys. The quality of the force feedback, my first thoughts, what it's like to drive, and I've picked Autumn Blister 2 here as that's a game that really does force feedback very well. So I wanted to pick a game which was going to deliver a nice level of force feedback, so I could really feel, the sensations coming through the wheelbase. And get a feel of what it's telling me and what it's not. And I just messed up. So let's restart that, but that's fine. Let's restart that, and I will continue with my commentary. Okay, guys. So the T248 it's a £300 wheelbase. It sort of sits in price-wise just below the mid-range T300 and TX. And sits above the entry-level wheelbases, which is the T150 and TMX. So I've reviewed both a TMX and also a TX. So I've reviewed what's above and below this wheelbase, and it's kind of interesting, really, because this definitely sits in between those in performance, at least what I can tell you so far. And the reason is the T150 and the TMX, the entry-level ones, so what, about £200, sub £200 in sales. They use a hybrid system mechanism inside, which is basically gear and belt driven, as this does as well. However, this is more powerful than the T150 and the TMX. It's 70% more powerful. That's what Thrustmaster states, and I can tell you it is a lot more powerful than those entry-level wheelbases. And that 70% puts it, I'd say, basically, this feels like the strength of a T300 or TX. So you've got this kind of weird thing where you've got this, you get a price point which is between them, not quite between them, it's quite close to T300, let's say, and the TX, but it's sharing a entry-level mechanism but with a more powerful motor, and that's what it feels like to me. It feels like, if I was to say, what it feels like in force feedback, it does feel like a stronger T150, a stronger TMX. The level of torque, which is like the T300, okay, and the TX. So that's kind of what it feels like to me, and certainly that's kind of what you're getting. And I'm just going to show you something here, because one thing about that hybrid system, which you really do need to know about, is it does have a little bit of roughness to the wheel when we turn it, and there's no interaction between the force feedback and the game now. If I had unplugged the wheelbase from the power, this is what it'd be like. So just so you know this, and listen to this. So you can hear that's friction. I can feel that as well, and it's in a way, the way I describe it is like a feeling of a pepper grinder. A light feeling of pepper grinder. That kind of feedback you get when you turn a pepper grinder, right? And whenever you're using a wheel on track, this same friction comes through. You can't avoid it. It's there. It's ever present, and that's the sort of feeling you get from the cheap T150, the cheap TMX, which is understandable. They're cheap wheelbases, right? This is £300. So it's a lot more expensive than that, and it's knocking on the door of the T300 and the TX, which do not have that friction. They are this moves really, rotates really smoothly, those wheels, and it's a nicer feeling of force feedback that comes from it, since we don't have this interaction, this something which does, I'd say, slightly dampens detail force feedback. So this is a little bit of a problem for the T248, since you got this weird thing. Like I said, you got the cheaper mechanism, yet you got a more powerful motor. So it fits in, and it does technically, I'd say, sit in between those two. It's sort of like a weird sort of like 2.5, sort of like a bit of a bundle wheelbase, really, of a mating of two wheelbases. You've got the cheaper mechanism, more powerful motor. That's kind of how it feels like to me. And I'd say the £300 price point of this, I'd say at the moment is too expensive. And of course, you know, the launch price is always going to stuff you, right? It's always going to stitch you up. You know, this is what happens. You look at, you know, you look at past wheels on the Thrustmaster ecosystem. Even Logitech did the same. You know, comes up a really stupidly high price, and it will drop to a more sensible price. And I'd say drop £50 off this, 249, even say like 239. I'd say I'd be happy to pay for that. At £300, I'd rather put my money into a T300. And of course, yeah, T300 wheelbase and pedal set is going to be a little bit more expensive than this. That's for sure, right? I get that. But I'd rather spend the the 50, 60 pounds more for something which is more refined. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment. If there's £100 price difference between this and the T300 package, then fair enough. You know, this is 200. You know, if this was 249, I'd say, you know, it sits in nicely between those wheelbases, that entry level and the mid range, because it's kind of trying to do two things. It's trying to be entry level and mid range at the same time. You know, with the cheaper mechanism but more powerful motor. Does that make sense? That's kind of how it feels like to me. So yeah, but you know, I'd say, you know, being more powerful is nicer. You certainly get a better sensation of the force feedbacks, everything, you know, the force feedback, it has a nicer, it's stronger, it's nice to have. You go over bumps and everything has a stronger feel. You go over curbs, it has definitely a more, you know, a nicer effect on the, you know, through the wheel, and go over the grass, and yeah, it's nice to feel. And even going down the track here, you can see that you're getting a nice sensation of the actual of just the, you know, the roughness of the track, the tiny bumps is coming through. I mean, that doesn't come through when you go around corners though. It doesn't have the fidelity to transmit that much in the way of layered effects. So going around that curve, I could not feel bumps on the track. It was just a feeling of heavy resistance, which is sort of understandable. And yeah, so you don't really get a build, you don't really get a build up of resistance when you go around corners. Basically, I'm gonna, you know, this chicane, just slow down for it, or overcook it, let's say. But basically, all I'm feeling is just a strong, you know, heaviness of a wheel. And the same thing on this curve here. We go around the curve, I'm feeling some bumps there, and when we hit that curve, there is no anything else other than feeling resistance. You can see that through the way I'm holding the wheel. And we get to straight, we get to straight here, and you can just see, well, on a straight bit of track, now it's, you know, it's feeling the bumps. But so that's what you're getting here, guys. You're getting something which, yeah, it's not like the best force feedback. It's a nice level of strength. It lacks a little bit of depth of nuance. There's no, yeah, there just heaviness. And it's enough to give me a sensation and understanding that I'm loading up the tyres and I'm going around a corner. But as you can see, I'm just turning the wheel very smoothly. I'm not reacting to anything else other than I'm going around the corner. You know, I take the same track with a direct drive wheelbase, and you can see I'm making lots of micro adjustments since I'm feeling what's happening all the time. There's a lot of changes going on, but here, you know, it's just there you go, corner, resistance, and that's it. Yeah, it's kind of stuff I would expect. So, you know, not like, you know, high quality, really high level of force feedback, but it's certainly getting the job done. That's kind of what you're getting here. It gets the job done. Certainly we need to try it into a few different games, because, you know, those games will definitely feel different through the force feedback. You know, there's Autumn Blister 2 does force feedback really well. There's a lot of detail coming through from the game. Doesn't necessarily mean the wheel's going to pick it up. And certainly some other games may feel much more sort of dead limp on this wheelbase than this does. You know, so yeah, a good game to choose if you want good force feedback. Autumn Blister 2 is a good pickup. Also, like R Factor 2 as well would run really nicely. I'm sure on this wheel, but yeah, you know, just trying to see if I can pick up some feelings. We go over, you know, a bit of a rougher ground and we get some cornering there. So let's just try and just check this out. So we're just going to get some resistance there. Okay, so when we go over the curbs there, there's certainly some extra wobble, but yeah, it's not picking up the sort of like the more granular, it's not picking up the granular effects, the feel of the surface there as I turn. But if I go straight, then I can feel it. If I can go straight, because I don't know how to drive clearly. Just So yeah, I go straight. I can feel. Whoops! It's gonna kick me off the track if I don't get it right. I think I killed my car. Let's restart it. Okay, so there you have it. You know, so yeah, I'm not like blown away by this, but I would say, you know, it's okay. For what the specs of the, you know, the wheelbase is providing, you know, gear and belt driven and more power, I guess is kind of what it should be. And yeah, so I can't be disappointed about the performance in that sense. It's doing what I would think a mechanism and a wheel of this power would be outputting. You know, so in that sense, it's doing everything it should be doing and everything it needs to do. Price-wise, I think that's kind of where I'd say it sits in a weird place. And, you know, my instinct is to tell you that, you know, this is not necessarily a good pickup for £300. Think about putting that money into something a little bit more expensive. Spend £50–60 more, get a T300. Yeah, if this drops to, you know, 50 quid, this drops by £50 to 250 to, you know, 249 sort of price point, then I'd say yeah, it sits in perfectly in where it should be. Price to performance would be about right for me, and I'd say I'd happily say yeah, that's fair enough. But you know, bear in mind, guys, as I said, this is an early impression. It's not like a full review. I will go into more depth when I, you know, in that review, and I'll be able to kind of really kind of test a bunch of other games and kind of have a good think about, you know, all the aspects of this product. You know, that's kind of where I'm at with it, guys. So yeah, you know, take it for what it is, an early impression, and you know, just some instinctive views, really. You know, I've used a bunch of wheelbases, guys. I've reviewed a bunch. I have direct drive wheelbases as well. You know, so I've done this for a while. I've tested a lot of wheelbases, so you know, it does help me get a good grounding actually of, you know, what force feedback should feel like, and quite honestly, price to performance as well. That's something I do take quite seriously, and it's something I do think about with when I do my reviews. So yeah, which is why, you know, that's where I'm sitting where I am with this early impression. But you know, it feels solid enough. It's driving pretty well. You know, price. That's where I'm a little bit. It just doesn't kind of balance quite right for me right now, guys. But you know, wait for the review and I'll give you my full verdict. And of course, you know, I'm not using the pedals, guys. The pedals might be awesome. The pedals might be terrible. I don't know yet, guys. But you know, it has to be. We have to talk about it as a whole package. And you know, certainly I'm only showing you. You know, I'm only testing 50% of it. You know, so not necessarily a fair. You know, a fair kind of complete overview really, but hopefully you got some sense of what's going on here, guys, as I crash off the track. Yeah, we'll end it here, guys. I don't think I've got anything more to show you. If you have any questions, do drop comments below the video and I'll try and pick them up there, and I'll try and answer something, because if you are on the fence thinking about buying this, yeah, drop your questions, guys. I'll be happy to reply and maybe you know, feature that in my review if it's stuff I haven't thought about. But yeah, guys, there you go, the Thrustmaster T248 first impression video. You know, it is what it is. But hopefully you found that interesting, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, happy simming, and bye bye.